Good evening. Have you ever looked in the mirror, not just glanced at your reflection, but really looked? Not to fix your hair or adjust your tie, but to ask yourself, is the future I'm walking into the one I want? And if not, what needs to change? We all want a better future, but wanting is passive. Improvement is active. And the truth is, a better future isn't found, it's built. Let's talk about 6 key areas we must improve if we want to design a life, a career, a world we're proud of. Most of us walk through life in a daze. We wake up, check our phones, go through the motions, rinse, repeat. We build routines, form habits, make decisions without ever truly understanding why we make them. It's efficient, it's safe, but it's not free. The cost of that efficiency is awareness. And without awareness, there is no growth, only repetition. We like to believe we know ourselves. We cling to this comforting idea that we are self-aware, that we know what drives us, what angers us, what inspires us. But the truth is confronting. Studies have shown that while nearly everyone thinks they are self-aware, in reality only a small fraction of us are. That means most of us are reacting to life instead of intentionally living it. We're driven not by purpose, but by invisible forces, by fear, insecurity, pride, or the need to be liked. And we don't even realize it. That matters more than we think. Because when we don't understand the root of our actions, we cannot control the direction of our lives. We become passengers rather than drivers. The wheel is turning, but our hands aren't on it. We work hard, we chase goals, we hit milestones, but something always feels off. And that off is the gap between what we're doing and why we're doing it. Take Sarah. She's not unlike many high performers we admire. Smart, driven, successful on the surface. But beneath that polish, she was crumbling. Every day was a grind, not because the work was too much, but because she was too disconnected. She was constantly saying yes to meetings, to favors, to extra responsibilities, not because she believed in them, but because she was chasing approval. Every yes was a silent plea, value me. That's not purpose, that's survival. It took burnout to break the cycle. It took a painful moment to force her to stop and ask, why do I do what I do? That question changed everything. She realized that she had been performing rather than participating, pleasing instead of contributing. And when she began saying no, when she started choosing from intention rather than impulse, her energy returned, her mind cleared, her relationships deepened. Because clarity creates capacity. When we know what truly matters, we make space for it. And this is where the shift happens. Self-awareness is not a buzzword. It's not a journal prompt or a self-help hashtag. It's the foundation of freedom. Because awareness gives us choice. When we know our patterns, we can disrupt them. When we know our motivations, we can reshape them. And when we know our fears, we can move through them. But awareness isn't passive, it's a practice. It takes effort, it takes courage. It's far easier to react than reflect. It's far more comfortable to blame the world than to confront ourselves. But every breakthrough in life, every pivot, every reinvention, every transformation starts with a question. A single moment of stillness, a pause long enough to wonder, why did I do that? It sounds simple, maybe too simple, but the most powerful truths often are. Imagine doing that 5 times a day, just 5, in the middle of a heated email or a mindless scroll or an argument or a yes you didn't mean. Pause, ask, why did I do that? That one question opens a door. Maybe you'll walk through it, maybe not, but the more you ask, the more the answers begin to reveal themselves. And the more answers you uncover, the more control you take back, because clarity compounds. One honest answer today becomes 2 better choices tomorrow. It builds, it grows, until one day you realize that your life isn't happening to you, you're creating it. And that realization is everything. We often look for change in the big things, in new jobs, new goals, new cities, new relationships. But the most lasting change doesn't come from the outside in, it starts from the inside out. It begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. The moment we decide to turn on the lights and look around, not with judgment, but with curiosity. This isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming real. Real with ourselves, real about our needs, our limits, our hopes, and our hurt. Because we cannot lead others if we cannot lead ourselves. And we cannot lead ourselves if we're blind to what's steering us. So many of the people we admire, those who inspire us, who create, who challenge, who build, who change the world, they didn't start with better resources or more luck. They started with better questions. They started with why. They turned their gaze inward and found the strength to course correct. That's not magic. That's awareness. And we can all start there, no matter where we've been. No matter how far off track we feel, the path back to ourselves is always open. It begins not with a plan, but with a pause, with a question, with a willingness to get honest. And that honesty, that's the birthplace of transformation. So ask yourself, not once, but often, over and over, until it becomes a reflex, until the answers stop scaring you and start guiding you, until your life begins to feel like yours again. Because the moment you know why you do what you do, you hold the keys to everything. Imagine standing on the edge of your dreams, able to see them clearly yet unable to touch them. That space between wanting something and having it, that space is discipline, not raw talent, not motivation, discipline. The quiet engine that moves mountains, one pebble at a time. It's the muscle we build in silence, away from the spotlight when no one's watching and no applause is waiting. Discipline is not glamorous. It rarely gets shared on social media, but it is the currency of success, and every great achievement has been paid for in its exact change. People often get caught in the trap of thinking success is a switch, one big break, one viral moment, one lucky encounter, but reality tells a different story. Reality whispers that success is the child of repetition. It's the uncelebrated choice to keep showing up. It's waking up at 5 a.m. when you don't feel like it. It's sticking to a commitment when excitement fades and the process gets boring, and it will get boring. That's when most people quit. That's when champions lean in. Think about Michael Phelps. 5 years, every single day, no excuses, no breaks. Over 800 training sessions before the world saw him touch that Olympic wall and erupt into celebration. Most only see the victory. They don't see the mornings he fought sleep, the meals he meticulously planned, the countless hours in chlorinated silence. But what built his gold wasn't the moment of winning, it was the ritual of showing up. And that's the part we can all choose. You don't need to be an Olympian to live like one. You just need to make a decision every day. The beauty of discipline is that it's not about talent or resources. It's about choice. And choices compound. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. That's how identity is shaped, not in declarations, but in daily evidence. If you write a page a day, you are a writer. If you save $5 a week, you are a saver. If you get up when the alarm rings, you are disciplined. No need for perfection, just proof. We often overestimate what we can achieve in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. That's why intensity burns out so quickly. We start with a sprint and run into a wall. But consistency is patient. It doesn't promise fireworks. It promises transformation, one day at a time, one decision at a time. Because momentum isn't found in grand gestures. It's earned in quiet mornings and tired evenings. It's built in the space between distractions and desire. Think about the power of one small change. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. That's 182 extra hours a year. That's the equivalent of 22 full working days. What could you build in 22 days of focused effort? Write a page a day? That's a novel in a year. Save $5 a week? That's $260. Enough to start an investment account or buy something meaningful. These wins may seem small, but they aren't. They are the beginning of a new rhythm. They are the evidence that change is possible. And once we taste that small win, something shifts inside us. We start to believe. And belief is powerful fuel. When we believe we can, we act like we can. And that action reinforces the belief. It's a loop of progress. But it begins with the tiniest step. One that's so small, so manageable, it feels almost silly. That's the secret. Make it too easy to fail. Because success isn't born from intensity, it's born from frequency. Frequency creates familiarity. Familiarity breeds comfort, and from comfort we grow. But discipline isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. Every act of discipline isn't just a task, it's a vote for your future self. It's a declaration that you are worthy of the life you imagine. And that future version of you, they're watching, they're hoping you keep showing up. Because that's who they depend on. Not a perfect you, not a never fail you, just a you that refuses to quit. There's a quiet dignity in discipline. It doesn't ask for credit, it just asks for effort. It doesn't care if anyone notices, it just cares that you do. Because when you choose discipline, you're choosing to matter. To matter to yourself, to say, I'm worth the time, I'm worth the effort, I'm worth the struggle. And once you decide that, everything changes. Goals stop being distant dreams and start becoming inevitable realities. This world is noisy, full of hacks, shortcuts, and dopamine. But discipline is the signal in the noise. It's the still, steady beat of progress in a world addicted to instant gratification. It's what separates those who wish from those who achieve, those who talk from those who walk. It's not easy, but that's the point. Anything worth having isn't easy, it's earned. And that's what makes it valuable. So if you want to change your life, don't start big, start small, start now. Get one win today, just one. Then do it again tomorrow. Stack them, protect them, let them become sacred, because one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just build a habit, you've built a future. You've built a version of you that no longer needs to be convinced of your worth. You proved it. Day after day, quietly, relentlessly. And when that future arrives, when the world finally sees the results, they'll call it talent, they'll call it luck, but you'll know the truth, it was discipline. The bridge you built brick by brick while no one was watching. The one that carried you from intention to impact, from hope to history, from who you were to who you were always meant to be. Let's talk about something we all crave: deep, meaningful connection. Because when we strip away the noise, the goals, the metrics, and the constant chasing, what truly shapes the quality of our lives are the people we surround ourselves with, the relationships we invest in, the proximity we choose. This isn't just feel-good fluff, it's power. Proximity is power. You see, there's a silent force constantly working behind the scenes in our lives. It's not always loud, it doesn't need to be, but it's always there. It's the influence of the people we spend the most time with. Their beliefs, their attitudes, their energy, it rubs off on us more than we realize. Jim Rohn once said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that, really think about it. Who are those 5 people for you? Are they lifting you, or are they quietly anchoring you to a version of yourself you've already outgrown? We are wired for connection. From the moment we take our first breath, we're seeking belonging, acceptance, and love. Not just because it feels good, but because it's essential. And over time, the people we connect with start to become mirrors. They reflect back to us our potential or our limitations. They either remind us of who we're capable of becoming or reinforce the doubts that keep us stuck. There's a powerful study out of Harvard that followed people for over 75 years. That's longer than most of us will ever track anything in our lives. The researchers were trying to find out what makes a good life, what really contributes to happiness, fulfillment, and longevity. And after decades of gathering data, interviews, and life stories, the answer wasn't wealth. It wasn't success or fame. It wasn't even physical health. The single biggest predictor of happiness was close relationships. Not just having people around, but quality relationships, those marked by trust, vulnerability, and love. So here's the hard truth. If you're feeling stuck, uninspired, or like your dreams are drifting further away, it might not be about your effort. It might be about your environment. Because no matter how big your vision is, if you're surrounded by small minds, your dream will suffocate. If you share your goals with people who look at you like you're crazy, eventually you'll start to wonder if you are. That's the slow erosion of belief that happens when your proximity isn't aligned with your purpose. But it works both ways. If you're around people who see you, really see you, not for who you are today, but for who you can become, that belief becomes contagious. If you spend time with people who challenge you, who ask more of you, who won't let you settle for just okay, then guess what? You rise, you expand, you grow into the version of yourself you were always meant to be. This is why proximity is power. It can either trap you in a version of yourself you've outgrown or pull you forward into your potential. And it's not about being surrounded by people who always agree with you. That's not growth. That's comfort. Growth happens when you're in rooms where you're not the smartest person, when you're stretched, when you're uncomfortable, when someone looks you in the eye and says, I believe in you, but you can do better. We need those people in our lives, the ones who see our greatness even when we don't. The ones who hold up a mirror and remind us what we're made of, the ones who challenge us, not out of criticism, but out of care. Because here's something most people don't tell you. Belief is borrowed. Before you believe in yourself, you borrow that belief from someone else, a mentor, a friend, a partner, someone who looks at you with unwavering conviction and says, you've got this. And little by little, their belief becomes your own. But if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, by people who only see limits, who talk more about problems than solutions, who make excuses instead of taking responsibility, that environment will shape you too. Slowly, without even noticing, your dreams will shrink to fit the expectations of those around you. So what do we do with this truth? We audit our circle, not with judgment, but with honesty. We ask, are the people I spend the most time with helping me rise or pulling me back? Are they lighting a fire in me, or are they dimming my flame? Are they celebrating my wins, pushing me through my setbacks, holding me accountable to my potential, or are they keeping me small, comfortable, and unseen? This isn't about cutting people off, it's about curating your life, about recognizing that your energy is sacred, your future is worth protecting, and your growth deserves support. We only get one shot at this life. Why spend it surrounded by people who don't want to see us win? Every dream, every goal, every vision you have for your life, it lives or dies in the soil of your relationships. You could have all the talent in the world, all the drive, all the strategy, but if you're in the wrong environment, it will choke your growth. And on the flip side, even if you're still figuring things out, even if you're just starting, if you're surrounded by the right people, you'll go further than you ever imagined. Because when we're loved, challenged, and supported, we become braver, we take more risks, we show up more fully, and the world gets to see what we're truly capable of. So surround yourself with dreamers, with doers, with believers, with people who make you feel like anything is possible. Because in the end, it's not just about the goals we achieve, it's about who we become along the way. And who we become is deeply shaped by who we walk with. Choose wisely, love deeply, and never underestimate the power of proximity. Life is not a straight line. It's not a neat sequence of wins, promotions, and joyful celebrations. Life is chaotic. It's unpredictable. It throws curveballs when you're least prepared. And sometimes life seems downright cruel. But here's the thing. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to shape us. What determines whether we rise from the storm or collapse under it is not how hard the wind blows, but how deeply our roots hold. It's not about whether or not we get hurt, because we will. It's about whether we allow that hurt to hollow us or to shape us. Resilience isn't about bouncing back, it's about bending without breaking. It's about the quiet strength to stand in the middle of the fire and not let it consume you. It's the courage to keep walking even when every part of you wants to sit down and quit. Resilience begins where comfort ends. And emotional resilience, the kind that determines how we show up in our relationships, our careers, our own lives, starts with the choices we make in the moments that feel unbearable. We often think strength looks like holding it all together, like not crying, not faltering, not admitting weakness. But real emotional strength, it's the opposite. It's being honest enough to say, this hurts, and brave enough to ask, what now? There's a powerful story that reminds us what that really looks like. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived one of the darkest chapters in human history, the Holocaust, wrote that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies our power to choose. In that moment, before the anger, before the outburst, before the silence, we have the ability to pause. And in that pause, we can decide who we want to be. We're taught to react, we're taught to defend ourselves, we're taught to be quick, be strong, be unfazed, but we're rarely taught to pause, to breathe, to reflect. And yet that space, the one Frankl talked about, is where all the power is. That pause is where transformation begins. It's where growth lives. Because the moment we start choosing our response, we start reclaiming our lives. Emotional resilience is not about being unaffected. It's about being deeply affected and still deciding to move forward. It's about letting yourself feel fully and still choosing not to be defined by that feeling. And that takes practice. It takes awareness. It takes intention. There's something deeply human about turning pain into purpose, and not in some grand public way, not with speeches or social media posts, but in the quiet, daily choices we make. In the decision to get out of bed when grief is heavy. In the courage to say, I forgive you, even when it still hurts. In the strength to love again after being broken. And that kind of resilience, it's not inherited, it's not a gift, it's a skill. A muscle, one we can all build, no matter where we come from or what we've been through. But like any muscle, it grows through resistance, through tension, through the hard days when it would be easier to numb out, to shut down, to run. So how do we build it? It starts with a simple habit, 10 minutes a day, just 10. Pick up a pen, grab a journal, and write. Not to sound wise, not to impress anyone, but to listen to your heart, your thoughts, your wounds. Write what you felt today, why you felt it, and what you wish you felt instead. It sounds small, but this practice, it's not about the words, it's about the awareness. Because when you start tracking your emotions, you stop being controlled by them. You start seeing patterns. You start noticing, oh, every time I feel unseen, I shut down. Or whenever I'm afraid, I get angry. And in that awareness, you gain something powerful, the ability to choose a different way. Journaling is not therapy. but it is therapeutic. It's a mirror. It shows you what's happening beneath the surface. And the more you see, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the more you can heal. Not by erasing the pain, but by giving it a voice, a name, a place to go. We live in a world that tells us to move fast, to keep going, to power through. But healing doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't work like that. Resilience doesn't work like that. They all require slowness, presence, stillness. They require us to sit in the uncomfortable and not flinch. And here's what's amazing. Once you learn to sit with your pain, you realize it's not as scary as you thought. You realize you can handle it, that you're not as fragile as you feared, that what once broke you now strengthens you. There's something sacred about the journey from I can't handle this to I did. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's life-changing. And when you develop that kind of emotional resilience, you stop fearing the hard days. You stop needing life to be perfect to feel okay, because you've built something stronger than comfort. You've built inner peace. And when you can bend without breaking, you become unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become more flexible, more adaptable, more grounded. You stop fighting the storm and learn how to stand in it. You stop seeking control and start finding calm. And from that place, from that deep, steady place, you live with more compassion, more empathy, more strength. That's what this is about. Not becoming tougher, but becoming more human, more whole, more present. We don't need more people pretending they're okay. We need more people brave enough to admit when they're not and resilient enough to keep going anyway. So let life be messy, let it be unpredictable, let it be real, because in all that chaos is the invitation to grow, to evolve, to rise, not by resisting the pain, but by using it, learning from it, letting it teach us who we really are. We bend so we don't break. We bend so we can carry what matters. We bend because in the end, that's how we rise. Imagine growing up thinking that money was the destination, that it was the trophy at the end of a long, grueling race, that once you had enough, you'd finally be safe, finally be happy, finally be seen. This is the story many of us are handed. It's the story that shows up in our schools, our movies, and even the conversations we overhear as kids. We're told to work hard, get a good job, and chase the paycheck. But what if that story was incomplete? What if money isn't the goal, but the tool? We learn about the Pythagorean theorem before we learn how a credit score works. We memorize formulas for calculating the volume of a sphere, but no one explains the concept of compound interest, the kind of quiet magic that turns small, consistent habits into lifelong freedom. And so we grow up thinking that financial success is for the lucky or the brilliant. We idolize the millionaire tech founders and celebrity entrepreneurs while ignoring the quiet power of the janitor who understood one timeless principle: time and patience grow wealth more effectively than talent and luck. Ronald Reed was that janitor, a man who swept floors and pumped gas for a living. No Ivy League education, no high-paying job, no viral moment of fame. But when he died, he left behind a legacy that stunned the world: $8 million in savings and investment. He didn't get there by chasing get-rich-quick schemes. He didn't wait for the perfect opportunity. He started where he was. He stayed consistent. And above all, he understood that money was a tool to build something greater than just wealth. It was a tool to build freedom. This story isn't about Ronald. It's about all of us. Because we've been taught to chase the big paycheck, the bigger house, the next car. We celebrate consumption, not creation. We reward flashy lifestyles, not financial discipline. And the result? Nearly 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they aren't working hard, not because they don't care, but because no one taught them the rules of the game. And if you don't know the rules, how can you ever expect to win? Money is emotional. It's never just about the numbers. It's about how we were raised, what we saw, what we didn't see. It's about the shame we carry when we overspend, the fear we feel when bills pile up, the stress that creeps in when we're trying to smile through financial insecurity. It's about the quiet tears at night, wondering how we'll get through the next month. That's why this conversation matters, because money isn't just paper and coins. It's possibility, it's power, it's peace of mind. But only when we know how to use it. Financial literacy isn't about being an expert. It's about being aware. It's about understanding that a budget isn't a prison, it's a plan for freedom. It's knowing that saving isn't deprivation, it's preparation. It's realizing that investing isn't a gamble, it's a strategy for building something you can't yet see. When you start seeing money as a tool, everything changes. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop chasing and start choosing. Let's talk about budgeting, not the kind that feels like punishment, the kind that feels like self-respect. Because every dollar you earn is a vote for the life you want. And if you don't tell your money where to go, it will wander into places that steal your peace. A budget is not about saying no, it's about saying yes to what matters most. It's about aligning your spending with your values. Want to travel? Save for it. Want to start a business? Budget for it. Want to retire early? Invest for it. Every goal you have is possible, but only if you take control of the one thing most people never do, their money story. And what about saving? Not just for emergencies, but for opportunities, because one day something will come along that could change your life. A business idea, a down payment, a move to a new city. And when it does, you'll want to say yes. But you can only say yes if you've been preparing. Saving is how you honor your future self. It's how you say, I believe in the life I'm building, even if I can't see it yet. Then there's investing. It sounds intimidating. Wall Street, stock tickers, complex graphs. But at its core, investing is simple. It's the decision to put your money to work, to let it grow while you sleep, to plant seeds today that bloom years down the line. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to start. A few dollars a week, a low-cost index fund, a long-term mindset. The earlier you begin, the more time you give your money to multiply. Because that's the real secret. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. Patience is your greatest asset. We don't talk enough about the emotional side of money, the fear, the shame, the comparison, the belief that everyone else has it figured out. But here's the truth, most people don't. Most people are guessing, most people are afraid, and that's okay. The first step is not having it all figured out. The first step is deciding to learn, to unlearn, to break the cycle, to stop seeing money as a mysterious force and start seeing it as something you can understand, master, and use for good. Money is a mirror. It reflects your habits, your beliefs, your values. But it's also a hammer. It can build the life you want or destroy the one you have. And like any tool, it depends on the hands that wield it. So ask yourself, what life are you building? What story are you telling with your money? Are you living someone else's version of success, or are you writing your own? This is about freedom. Not the kind that shows up on a bank statement, but the kind that lets you sleep at night. The kind that lets you say no to what drains you and yes to what drives you. The kind that lets you be generous without fear, take risks without regret, and live life on your terms. So no, this isn't a speech about how to get rich quick. It's about getting free slow, about taking the time to understand, about changing the narrative. Because money doesn't define you. It enables you, it supports you, it amplifies who you already are. Use it wisely, and it will serve you. Chase it blindly, and it will own you. You don't need a windfall to win. You need wisdom. You need clarity. You need the courage to start where you are with whatever you have and believe that it's enough. Because it is. We spend so much of our lives chasing success, climbing ladders, reaching for titles, building empires of achievement, brick by brick. We're taught early on to run fast, push hard, and never settle. But somewhere along the way, we forget to ask a critical question. Is the ladder we're climbing even leaning against the right wall? We become so focused on the ascent that we forget to pause, to look around, to ask if the direction we're heading in is even where we truly want or need to go. Success is seductive. It speaks the language of results, of milestones, of measurable progress. It tells us that more is always better, that the one with the most wins. But legacy speaks a quieter language. It doesn't boast. It doesn't seek recognition. Legacy whispers. It moves through the world gently but powerfully, leaving traces of light in its wake. It's not about how much you've gathered, but how much you've given. Not how many people know your name, but how many lives are better because you showed up. There's a story I want you to hold on to. In Kenya, there's a woman who looked at the world and saw a gap. Orphan children with no access to education, no safety net, no one to stand for them. She didn't have a building, she didn't have a big budget, she didn't wait for a donor or a government grant, she didn't let bureaucracy or limitations stop her. She simply began. She gathered the children, brought them under a tree and taught them. Under that tree, a classroom was born. And from that seed of compassion, something incredible grew. Today, that school educates over 300 children. That woman didn't just build a school, she built possibility. She didn't just teach reading and writing, she taught hope. Let's pause here. What does it mean to live like that? To move not because it's safe or convenient or profitable, but because it's right. Because someone, somewhere, needs you to show up. Legacy begins not with grandeur, but with intention, with asking, who can I lift as I climb? Who needs the knowledge I carry, the experience I've lived, the kindness I can offer? Every one of us carries something that can change another person's life. Sometimes it's a skill, sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's just time, your presence, your attention, your willingness to see someone who's been invisible for too long. We often tell ourselves that we need to be ready, that we need the right credentials, the right moment, the right conditions. But readiness is a myth. There will never be a perfect time to step into purpose. There will only be now and whether or not you choose to act. You don't have to start a school. You don't have to cure a disease, but you can mentor someone who's one step behind you. You can volunteer your time, share your journey, make space for a new voice at the table. You can ask better questions, not just what do I want, but what do I want to leave behind? Because one day all the titles, all the accolades, all the awards, they'll fade. But the lives you've touched, the hands you've held, the doors you've opened for others, that's what will echo. That's what will live on. We underestimate the ripple effect of small acts. The teacher who told you that you were more than your grades. The neighbor who looked out for your family when times were tough. The stranger who smiled at you when you were on the edge. These moments seem minor, but they shape us. They tether us to something deeper, something true. Imagine what would happen if every person in this room committed to just one act of contribution this week. Not because you're told to, not because it looks good on a resume, but because you understand that you're part of something larger, that you have the power to be the turning point in someone's story. We live in a world that rewards accumulation of wealth, of followers, of influence. But the people who truly change the world are the ones who choose to pour out rather than store up. They give generously, relentlessly, without keeping score. They don't wait for applause. They lead with love, with courage, with clarity of purpose. So the question becomes, are you willing to shift your metric of success? Are you willing to measure your life not by what you've built for yourself, but by what you've built through yourself for others? Legacy is about alignment. It's about making sure your daily actions reflect your deepest values. It's about choosing impact over image. And sometimes that means doing the unglamorous work, the late night phone call, the handwritten note, the honest feedback, the difficult conversation. Sometimes it means walking away from comfort to stand for what's right. It also means embracing your own story. Your journey, however messy, however imperfect, contains lessons that someone else is waiting to hear. Don't hide it, don't minimize it. Your story is a bridge. It can carry someone else across. Give your time, give your talent, give your light. Not because you have to, but because someone out there is stumbling in the dark, and your light might be the one thing that helps them find their path. There's no blueprint for legacy. It doesn't follow a 5-step formula. It's forged one moment, one decision, one act of courage at a time. And it starts now. Not someday, not when you've made it, but in this very breath. So the next time you feel the pull toward achievement, pause. Ask yourself if your ladder is leaning against the right wall, and if it's not, if you sense there's more, that you're meant for more, don't be afraid to climb down, to reorient, to begin again. Because in the end, the truest success is not in what we've taken, but in what we've given away. Not in how high we've climbed, but in how deeply we've touched the lives of others. The woman in Kenya started with nothing but a will to serve. And look what she created. What if each of us stepped into that same kind of courage? What if we stopped waiting for permission and started living on purpose? The world doesn't need more ladder climbers. It needs more tree planters, more light bringers, more people who are willing to leave footprints, not just on the path to success, but on the hearts of others. Legacy isn't something you leave behind when you're gone. It's something you live into. Every day you choose to make a difference. Every day you give more than you take. Every day you decide, I will be a giver, not just a getter. I will make my contribution count. So what do you improve to build a better future? Not everything at once, but enough to matter. Improve your self-awareness so you stop running in circles. Improve your discipline so your goals stop being dreams. Improve your relationships so you can rise together. Improve your resilience so you can withstand the storm. Improve your financial habits so you can live with freedom. Improve your contribution so your life echoes long after you're gone. The future isn't somewhere we arrive, it's something we create. And it starts with what you choose to improve today. Thank you.